In this video, I'll be telling you guys the pros and cons of living in a bilingual country such as Cameroon, coming up right now. What up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're watching this video and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, what are you still waiting for? Don't you want to join my ministry? Please go ahead and hit the red subscribe button below this video, and equally make sure you turn on the notification so that each time I upload a new video, you will be the first person to know. As you can see from the title of this video, I'll be telling you guys the advantages and the disadvantages of living in a bilingual country. I am a Cameroonian. I'm living in Cameroon, and Cameroon happens to be a bilingual country. So I'll be telling you guys the good things and the bad things about living in a bilingual country. I'll begin with the cons and then I'll conclude with the pros, because I want to end this video on a very positive note. So without wasting much of your time, let's dive into the video. The very first disadvantage of living in a bilingual country is the language barrier. You know, when you live in a bilingual country where they speak two or more languages, such as Cameroon, you know, in Cameroon we speak both English and French. Now, people who come from the English-speaking region, when they come to the French-speaking region, it's always a problem. Communication is always a problem, and vice versa. So when you live in a bilingual country, you always find difficulties. You find it hard to communicate with your fellow countryman, and at one point you just feel like you're a foreigner because you're in the same country with someone and you cannot communicate with that person effectively. And it applies in every other domain, be it in school. You go to shop online, either it's in the website, it's in French or it's in English, and there's always that conflict and confusion. Normally, Cameroon is supposed to be a bilingual country with French and English having equal status, but for some reason that is not the case, because you have one dominating over the other, and the others feel like minority, and it's always a problem at that level when it comes to communication. So the very first disadvantage of living in a bilingual country is the language barrier. The second disadvantage of living in a bilingual country is at the level of the educational system. Let me explain. In Cameroon, we have French and English. There is a French educational system and there is an English educational system, and both have totally different curriculum. Now in Cameroon, when you come from the English speaking region, from the primary school and the secondary school, you're being forced to, you can study in English or in French. But now when you get to at the level of the universities, there is a huge confusion and conflict on what to study, because let me take myself as an example. When I did my education in English, but when I went to University of Yaoundé to Soua, and they were forced to learn in French, everything was being done in French, and it was a big problem, considering the fact that for example, I was studying law. Now, as an Anglophone or as someone coming from the English-speaking part of Cameroon, I'm supposed to study common law. Now, when I get to the University of Yaoundé too, they force me to do civil law, which is, so what I'm saying generally is that there's always a conflict of education, be it in, sometimes even in the primary school. And it's not as if it's only an Anglophone problem, because Francophones too, when they go to the University of Buea, they are forced to study in English as well. So there is always that conflict at the level of the school curriculum, and at the level of the language and the way they do things. You know, the French way of doing things is totally different from the English way of doing things. So there is always that conflict at the level of the education. Now, the third disadvantage of living in a bilingual country is marginalization and discrimination. Now, most often than not, when there is a bilingual, when a country is bilingual, one language will always dominate over the other, and when such a thing happens, the other language, the minority, will always be discriminated upon. They'll always be considered the minority, especially the case of Cameroon. In Cameroon, the French part of Cameroon occupies like 80%, and then the English part occupies like 20%. So automatically the Anglophones are being considered the minority, which is a huge problem, because I don't understand why in a country which belongs to everyone, some people will be considered the majority and the others will be considered a minority. Hence, there is always discrimination, there is always marginalization, because they are the minorities, what can you really do about it? You cannot really say about it. And that is part of the reasons why Cameroon is in the situation where it found itself today, the Anglophone problem. That's part of the reason. So those are the disadvantages of living in a bilingual country. Now let's talk about the advantages. It's not as if everything about a bilingual country is bad. There are equally some good things about living in a bilingual country. And the very first advantage or the positive thing about living in a bilingual country is that you get to learn 2 or more languages. You get to be bilingual automatically. So I see it as an advantage, because you get to have a wider range of opportunities around the world. Like the case of Cameroon, we speak English and French, and English is the first language in the world, and French is equally a very popular language. So you can survive like everywhere in the world. You will not find any difficulties. You can survive in these African countries, you can survive in Europe. And I think living in a bilingual country or coming from a bilingual country, that is a positive thing, is an advantage, because you get to be bilingual and you get to know more languages, which automatically places you in a better position than someone who understands or speaks just one language. The second positive thing about living in a bilingual country is that you get to make instant friends. Okay, let me explain what I mean by you get to make instant friends. Let me say, for example, you come from the English-speaking part of Cameroon, right? And then you happen to find yourself in the French-speaking part of Cameroon, and automatically communication is going to be a problem. And now, if you happen to find someone in that English-speaking part of Cameroon who understands your language, automatically you guys will become friends. There will be that connection and that bonding. Let me give myself as an example. So when I went to the University of Yaoundé, let me just say this. I am bilingual, right? I speak French and English now. But then, when I went to the university, reading French was quite a problem for me. At that time. But now, I've passed that stage. Let me just put that out there. So, reading French was a problem for me. And, when you happen to find someone, an Anglophone in a Francophone community, automatically you guys will become friends. And that is what happened to me. I had a couple of friends who spoke English, and automatically till today we are still friends. So it's a good thing for you to just make instant friends when you live in a bilingual country. The next advantage of living in a bilingual country is that you get to be secretive with your communication. When you live in a bilingual country, you can gossip, you can say things without people knowing you're saying them, because they don't understand what you're saying. And I know some of you will consider it as a disadvantage, but personally I consider it as an advantage, because I can say something without the other person understanding, and we can keep our secrets, and we can chit-chat and gossip without you necessarily know what we are talking about. So at one point it's like an advantage for me, so I consider it as a good thing. And then the last but not the least is that when you live in a bilingual country, automatically you're forced to be smart. Now let me explain. I'll just keep explaining myself in this video. What I mean you'll be smart is that when you come from a country where there is language difference, cultural differences, and so you always find yourself struggling to fit in at one point in time, and struggling to survive with the chaos and everything that is happening with the language difference, barrier, and so on. So you automatically you will be very smart. If you're an Anglophone, you find yourself in a Francophone community, you don't want anybody to take advantage of you because of the language barrier. So you will find a means to be woke. You will be very woke. There is no way you let people take advantage of you, and that level you become very smart. So I just think coming from a bilingual country or living in a bilingual country, automatically you become very smart, and I see that as a very positive thing. So guys, there you have it. Those were the pros and cons of living in a bilingual country. What do you think about the points I gave? Did that make any sense, or was there something I was supposed to say I did not say, or I said something I was not supposed to say? Let me know in the comment section. What are your experiences of living in a bilingual country? I would like to know, because the ones I just mentioned are my experiences and my own advantages and disadvantages. I would equally like to know your own advantage and disadvantage of living in a bilingual country. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe, and if you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.